Now, let's get into some of the nitty gritty. How does this program actually work in Washington State? The program, the content and the format of the program are pretty closely tied together, the way that we approach the program. But I'm going to start with our content. Now, our content weaves those 7 competencies that I discussed through 5 modules. And the names of these modules are going to change slightly next year, but the progression I'm going to describe is still going to be the same. We structured this explicitly with the idea of expanding concentric circles. So each one of the courses in the program expands on it. It builds on those that came before it and expands the circle of influence or consideration. So in the first module, participants start by looking inward, their own personality, values, and identity, and explore personal leadership styles before moving on to kind of look at the systems in which public service leadership functions, like the history and structure of governmental bodies and human resources management. And then we move out to looking at things like coaching, facilitation, feedback, conflict management, and other skills necessary for leading groups and individuals, out to the larger functioning of public sector organizations, and then finally to lead what we call right now leading in a political and societal system. As I mentioned previously, each of these modules integrates an equity component, and it's done with that same idea. So in leading self, we start by looking at, well, what is identity? How do my identities, how do they show up? How do they influence who I am and how I show up in the world? Then we move out and look at kind of some of the more historical considerations in our state. We look at managing diverse teams, et cetera, right? So again, that idea of building a strong foundation personally and then expanding out. In terms of the format of the program, we really take kind of a multi-pronged approach here. So we deliver the course content, in 2 kind of major ways. So one is through the delivery of the content in a hybrid format. And then there are 2 major applied projects in the program that we use to gauge competency and for people to really put those skills into practice and get some feedback on them. So when I say hybrid here, I mean it in all the ways you're probably thinking. So we have a select number of days participants attend class on site at UW-Tacoma. We try to schedule these so they fall on topics that will most benefit from you being here in person. So for example, the first day and a half of the program is in person so that people can meet each other in the real world, make that connection, get to know each other a little bit before then we launch into the real online portion of the program. We spread those out through the year though, so that it really with the goal of reducing the burden of coming to campus. So this year it was August, January, mid-April, and then it'll be our last class session and capstone presentations in July. Expected to be roughly the same next year. The rest of the content is delivered online in a couple of different ways. One is through live online classes through Zoom. We usually do those in half-day sessions, so 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. on a Thursday and a Friday, every other week. So you'll have class Thursday and Friday one week, no classes the next week, and repeats on. And again, this is so that there isn't that burden of coming every single week, but you still have enough time that you're able to really sit with the content in a meaningful way. And then between those online live class sessions, there's asynchronous work, which here just means work you do on your own time and pace, guided by assignment deadlines. So that includes readings, videos, activities, discussion boards, journals, and some other types of activities depending on the content. The amount of this content really varies depending on where you are in the program, but an average of about 3 to 6 hours per week seems to be accurate from my conversations with the students. Then there are those two major applied projects that I mentioned. The first one is the Personal Leadership Project, and that's completed in the first two modules of the program, and it's a relatively small project. It's an opportunity to take something you've learned, so we give a few options to get people started, and really apply it in a low stakes way in your workplace, and then reflect on it. Because that reflection, that metacognition, that feedback piece is really important to the way we do our program. And that's because it's really the way that adults in particular concretize, really make information stick in their brain. And so the Personal Leadership Project is the first kind of a little bit larger way that we ask people to engage in that. And then the Process Improvement Capstone. So every certified public manager candidate has to do a capstone project as part of the requirements from the consortium. Because Washington State has a really long history with process and quality improvement as state government initiatives in particular, we chose to structure our capstone on a Lean Six Sigma Green Belt process improvement capstone. Participants over the course of the program will select and complete a process improvement project within their organization, and then prepare a portfolio and a public presentation detailing the project, how it demonstrates their mastery of the CPM competencies. There are two major benefits to us doing it this way. One is that kind of the whole point of process improvement is improving something, right? Having a tangible impact. And so it's a great way for a participant and an agency to show the value, right, of going through the program. The other reason is that it allows us to issue a second qualification at the end of our program, the Lean Six Sigma Green Belt. And that's fairly unique within the consortium. I think we're one of maybe two programs that does that. And it's especially unique now because UW-Tacoma won't be offering the Green Belt anymore in our normal 40-hour format. It will just be the 6-month-long certificate program out of Continuum College. So again, it's a really unique opportunity there for that with that integration.